If you have your Bibles, I would like to start off in Genesis, chapter 33, verses 13 and 14. And he said unto him, My Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and the herds with young are with me. And if men should overdrive them one day, all the flock will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly, according as the cattle that goeth before me. And this is the part of the verse that stuck out to me. And the children be able to endure, until I come unto my Lord unto Seir. And tonight, for a few minutes, I want to talk to you on this title. He won't let you take any more than you can endure. You may be seated. In this verse of Scripture, we find Jacob has met up with his brother Esau after many years, and they're getting ready to start traveling together. And Jacob looks at Esau and he says, Esau, you're traveling with a whole bunch of soldiers. And you're traveling with men that are used to traveling. And they can cover ground and cover it quick. Me, I've got my kids. I've got my flocks. And if we try to travel at the same rate of speed that you're going to be traveling at, it isn't going to be too long and my flocks are going to start dying off. And my kids, they ain't going to be able to take it. And so we need to travel at the rate that I set, because I know what my kids can endure. And I got thinking, that's a lot like God. God allows us to go through a lot of things in our life. He sends us trials and sicknesses, and he allows it to happen. He allowed it to happen to Job. But when he does, he already knows before he sends it whether you can endure it or not. And he's not going to send it to you if he doesn't think that you can make it through it. Like I said, he sent it to Job. God had a couple meetings, and the devil, he showed up, and first thing that God said to him, he says, well, have you considered my servant Job? The devil, he said, well, yeah, I've considered him, but, not much sense in touching him because, you won't allow it. And we know that Job don't serve you for nothing. And God says, well, I'm so confident in my servant that, do what you want to him. But don't touch him. Because right now I don't think Job could take that. So the devil, he went to work, and he done everything that he could imagine to do. A little bit later, there was another meeting. Same question. Same answer. God says, well, this time you can touch him too. Because I think he can take it. But don't you take his life. So the devil did. And throughout it all, Job made a few statements. And one of them was, he knows the way I take. And when I come forth, and when he's tried me, I shall come forth as gold. Well, that got me thinking, and it's dangerous when I think. But as a kid, I always had a fascination with gold, pirate's treasure, any type of treasure, any book on treasure, be it the Hardy Boys looking for treasure, be it pirates hunting, burying treasure. It always fascinated. And it still fascinates me, to the point where I'll watch a documentary on shipwrecks and hunting for gold and hunting for treasure and hunting. And I was watching one night, a documentary, and they was searching for the Spanish fleet back in 1700s. I can't remember the exact date, but there was a whole fleet that ran into a hurricane off the coast of Florida that was loaded with gold that they had stole from the Aztecs in South America and was taken back to Spain. And they lost the whole fleet of ships off the coast of Florida in this hurricane. Now, the country of Spain, a few years later, sent people back, and even in them days with what they had, they dove down. And historians believe that they recovered practically 80% of the treasure, but there's still 20% that they have been finding off and on, washed up on the beaches. And this treasure hunter that was doing the documentary had uncovered some evidence on where one of the ships possibly lay and was getting ready to dive down. And they had a camera on him when he dove down. And all of a sudden, as he was going along on his search, he come onto the ship, and pieces of the cannons and pieces of the ship that were still around. And out of the corner of the screen, you could see this little flash. And as they turned around and started to swim that way, the flash kept getting brighter and brighter. And it was bars of gold that were laying there. And when he brought them up, he was talking, and I was amazed at these bars of gold when they brought them up, that they didn't seem to be encrusted. You know, they was shiny. Didn't look like they had been buried at sea for hundreds of years. And the treasure hunter mentioned this, and he said, I know what you're thinking, because he also, right beside it, he found some coins, and these coins were silver coins and copper coins, and they was all tarnished and covered with barnacles, and just. He said, now that is when you have pure gold. The purer the gold is, the less the barnacles and less it will tarnish. Even if it's buried at sea for thousands of years, when you find it, it will look like the day it went down, the purer it is. And the more it will shine, because the sand washes it, and the sand rubs against it and keeps it polished, but yet it will not stick to it. And so I got looking at, okay, well, gold, when it's smelted, there's a fine line in smelting gold when it comes to the temperature. And it says that gold will melt at 2,050 degrees Fahrenheit. And there's a lot of pressure put to gold when it's being heated. And throughout the whole process, there's a lot of chemicals that's added that help separate gold from its impurities. But the temperature must be maintained very, very, very carefully, because if it goes over 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit, then the gold will begin to vaporize. And so therefore your volume of gold is going to decrease. And so the refiner, when he's refining it, he's watching it, and he knows, okay, I got to keep that temperature right here. And I can't let it go over this, because that gold can't endure it. And isn't that like God? He's refining us. And he's putting us through the fire. And he says, okay, in order to get them to the point that I need them, I've got to put this much temperature. But they can't take any more than this much temperature. The melting point's right here, but this is all they can take. And I've got to keep it right in here. And I've got to keep it balanced because I want the purest of gold that I can get. But I don't want it to lose any volume. I don't want them to lose anything that they need. I don't want them to lose any value. Pure gold, when it's been through all the processes and all the steps, is virtually indestructible. Like I said before, it won't corrode, it won't rust, it won't tarnish, and fire can't destroy it. That's why the gold that's extracted from the earth is still melted and remelted and used over and over again. In Australia, there's a mint there that they have 1 bar of gold in their visitor center that since 1993, they have melted and recast this same gold bar over 65,000 times. And throughout this time, because the process was been so refined and so watched and so guarded and so kept under control and kept within the perimeters, there has been no loss in volume. Well, this bar of gold still weighs exactly the same as it did in 1993 when they first started. You know, when it was all said and done, maybe Job felt like, you know, God, you don't know where I am. Well, he said it. You know, he said, if I could find him, if I could just find him, I could order my cause before him. And he felt like he was lost. But he understood that God wasn't going to let him take any more than he could endure. Because he did say, like I already quoted, he knoweth the way that I take. And when he's tried me, I'm going to come forth like gold. And I'm here to tell somebody tonight that he knows the temperature that's needed in your life. And he knows everything else and every chemical that needs to be added to get you to the place that you need to be. And he knows the precise temperature you need to take. And when you're going through something, and if you're going through it in a struggle, in a battle, and you don't know which end's up and what way to go, and you're sitting shaking your head, and I don't know how much more of this I can take. God knows where you are. And he knows what you can take. Because he said, Isaiah said, when thou passest through the waters, I'll be with thee. When you go through the river, they're not going to overflow you. And when you go walk through the fire, it's not going to burn you. And neither will the flame kindle upon you. And you might be at a place in your life where I had a man this week I was talking to, said, I've lost my way. He said, I've lost my way. Well, I've got an answer if you've lost your way. If the gold in your life has been refined and you've been through a lot of things, and it seems like you've been buried at sea, and you've been lost, don't worry. We have a shepherd who left 99 to go look for one. And if you feel like the waves have overswept you and they've washed you under, you're still going to shine. You're not going to tarnish. And he's going to be able to find you. He knows where you are, and he's going to be able to find you. You can be found when you're shining. A bar of silver that picks up the tarnish and picks up the barnacles, after a while, after 400-500 years, maybe even 100 years, it starts to look like its environment because stuff grows on it and it begins to take the shape of the bottom and everything that's around it. But gold, when it's not tarnishing and it's pure, it remains in the shape that it was when it fell there. and stuff isn't sticking to it. So the least little bit of sand that starts to move, and all of a sudden, you might go there today, and you might not see nothing. But the waves start to move a little bit, and the winds start to blow a little bit, and the sand starts to sweep a little bit and move across the bottom of the ocean, and you go down tomorrow, and you swim the exact same spot that you did yesterday, and all of a sudden, there it is. It's right there. It's visible, and it'll shine up just like it did. And I don't know if there's somebody here that needs to hear what I'm saying tonight, or if it's somebody that's online. I just want you to know that God knows what you're going through. He ordained it. And He's not going to let you take any more than you can endure. He knows where you are, and He knows the way that you take. When He has tried you, you're going to come forth like gold.